A routine mission on an isolated offshore oil rig turns into a desperate fight for survival when the crew awakens a deadly creature lurking beneath the sea. This is Sector 7, 2011. In 1985, a team is working on an offshore drilling platform called Sector 7. One of the drills suddenly stops working. A worker goes down in a submarine to inspect it and discovers that the drill is stuck. He puts on a diving suit and leaves the submarine to fix the problem. While working, he notices a huge and beautiful sea creature swimming nearby. Suddenly, the seafloor cracks open and the entire area begins to shake. Small glowing creatures appear and surround him. Curious, he reaches out to touch one of them. At that moment, the water pressure suddenly increases, pushing both him and the submarine upward. The man grabs onto the drill and tries to call for help on the radio. Before he can escape, the glowing creatures attack him, and everything goes dark. Years later, in 2011, the new crew at Sector 7 is dealing with problems in the drilling system. Haejun tells the team to close the valves while she controls the pressure. During the operation, she injures her shoulder. The crew works together to lower a large pipe safely. The pipe almost falls on one worker's head, but he moves away just in time. They finally repair the damaged equipment before things get worse. Later, the team talks about their biggest problem. They still cannot find any oil. Some crew members believe Haejun is too reckless and takes unnecessary risks. An argument breaks out, but Haejun refuses to give up. She promises that she will find oil no matter what. Meanwhile, another worker scolds a young crew member for almost causing an accident. The frightened young man grabs onto a pipe. Suddenly, a strange liquid starts leaking from the platform. The mysterious liquid brings out a small glowing creature that no one has ever seen before. Later, Haejun visits the medical room, where Dr. Moon-hyung checks her injured shoulder. Dong-soo jokes around and tries to flirt with her, but Haejun has no interest in him. At the same time, the crew catches several of the strange glowing creatures and places them inside an aquarium for study. Marine biologist Hyun Jung explains that the creatures come from a deep-sea, chemosynthetic ecosystem that exists far below the ocean. However, she has no idea how they reached Sector 7. While everyone is talking, Ji-hoon reaches into the aquarium and grabs one of the creatures. It suddenly shoots out its tongue and strikes him in the face. A few moments later, a painful wound appears on his lips. Later, Hyun-jung gets into an elevator. Ji-hoon stops the doors and tries to confess his feelings by giving her a gift. She politely rejects him and pushes him out before the elevator doors close. Sometime later, Captain Hwang announces that the company has ordered everyone to leave Sector 7. Since they have failed to find oil, the drilling project has been cancelled. Haejun becomes angry. She argues that they should not give up so easily and leaves the room determined to continue searching. Dong-soo follows her and tries to comfort her, but he only makes her even more upset. A few hours later, a helicopter arrives with Jung-man, a former worker at Sector 7 and Haejun's uncle. Haejun happily hugs him, and the entire crew welcomes him with great respect because of his experience and reputation. The team prepares a special dinner to celebrate his arrival. During the meal, everyone begins showing the scars they received while working on the platform. Captain Hwang says that scars are only signs of carelessness. Haejun disagrees. She proudly shows one of her scars and says that some scars represent courage and sacrifice, something the captain would never understand. Later that night, Haejun looks at an old family photograph. It reveals that her father was the worker who disappeared and died underwater back in 1985. Jung comforts Haejun and remembers that she still wants to continue searching for her father's remains. Because of this, he speaks to Captain Hwang and promises to convince the company to give the team a few more months. He tells Hwang that if they find oil, Hwang can take all the credit, but if they fail, Jung will take all the blame. The next day, Jung gives the crew a motivational speech. Everyone leaves their fingerprints on the drilling pipes as a good luck tradition. After 3 months of hard work, the team finally discovers oil. With their biggest problem solved, everyone finally has a reason to celebrate. Jung spends some time practicing his shooting skills by firing at flying plates. Meanwhile, Haejun and Dong-soo race their motorcycles around the platform. Haejun takes a shortcut up the stairs and performs a huge jump, but Dong-soo still wins the race. Since he won, Dong-soo reminds Haejun that she promised him a kiss. She smiles and only kisses him on the cheek instead. Later, Haejun and another crew member dive into the ocean to inspect the platform's underwater structure. They discover damage on one of the pipes and begin repairing it. At the same time, an unseen creature attacks the rope connected to Haejun's partner. The crew quickly tries to pull him up, but the rope suddenly snaps. The man falls deep into the ocean and dies. During the accident, Haejun's equipment hits her, causing her to lose consciousness. The crew rescues her by pulling her back to the surface. While unconscious, she dreams that strange jellyfish surround her, and that she sees her dead teammate's face beneath the water. She suddenly wakes up in the medical room. Overcome with grief, Haejun breaks down in tears. Jung comforts her and tells her to get some rest. Later, Hyunjung visits Haejun because she wants to tell her something very important. Before she can explain, other crew members interrupt them, and she leaves. That evening, Haejun goes outside to clear her mind. Ji-hoon once again tries to flirt with her, making her uncomfortable while the others watch. Later that night, Haejun sits beside her dead friend's machine and quietly cries. Suddenly, Hyunjung's body crashes against the window, shocking everyone. Her body is taken to the medical room. Dr. Moon first believes that Hyunjung committed suicide. Haejun refuses to believe it. She knows Hyunjung was not the type of person to take her own life. While examining the body, Dr. Moon discovers male semen, making him suspect that someone murdered her. The crew immediately suspects Ji-hoon and begins searching for him. Ji-hoon insists that he is innocent, but the others capture him anyway. Back in the clinic, Dr. Moon examines the sample under a microscope and realizes that it is unlike normal human semen. Soon the crew brings Ji-hoon to identify the body. He breaks down, crying. To confirm the evidence, Dr. Moon asks for a sample of Ji-hoon's hair for a DNA test. Meanwhile, Haejun remembers that Hyunjung wanted to tell her something important before she died. She goes to inspect the laboratory by herself. She hears a strange noise inside a cabinet. When she opens it, she jumps in fear, but it is only a rat. Then she notices a thick, slimy liquid leaking from the pipes outside the lab. At the same time, Dr. Moon begins running the DNA test. Suddenly, he hears a strange sound outside the room. He opens the door but sees nothing. Without warning, something attacks him from behind and kills him instantly. Elsewhere, Haejun continues searching and finds the broken safety rope from the earlier accident. Suddenly, she hears footsteps. She follows the sound and meets Captain Hwang, who tells her that Dr. Moon has been killed. The crew gathers to discuss what happened. They soon discover that both Dr. Moon's body and Hyunjung's body have disappeared. Most of the crew believes Ji-hoon is the killer, but Jung is not convinced. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon is tied up alone in the basement. Terrified, he watches a huge shadow slowly move toward him. A few minutes later, the crew arrives and finds blood and slime covering the floor. They discover Ji-hoon badly injured in a corner. At first, they think he is dead. Then he suddenly wakes up and screams that there is a monster inside the platform. At that moment, the entire platform begins shaking. Using the confusion, Ji-hoon escapes. The crew splits into two groups to search for him. While walking through a corridor, Haejun and Dong-soo look up and are horrified to see a giant monster crawling across the ceiling. In another hallway, Ji-hoon tries to hide. The monster finds him and kills him instantly. Soon afterward, Haejun and Dong-soo enter the generator room. They discover that the monster has built a nest there. The room is covered with thick slime, and the dead bodies of crew members lie everywhere. The surviving crew gathers in the communication room. Haejun tells everyone the monster is real. They try to send a distress signal, but the communication system is dead. Jung picks up a gun and says they must fight back. Haejun, Dong-soo, and Captain Hwang join him. As they search the platform, they meet two surviving crew members. The noise attracts the monster, which suddenly appears behind them. Haejun and Jung cannot shoot because they might hit their teammates. One frightened worker becomes confused instead of running. The monster shoots out its long tongue and grabs him. It violently smashes him against walls and machinery. While the monster is distracted, Haejun and Jung fire their weapons. The creature falls for a few seconds but quickly gets back up. Jung lights his lighter and throws the flame onto the monster. The creature catches fire and roars in anger. It chases the crew through the corridors. They slam a heavy door shut behind them, but the monster easily smashes through it. The survivors escape into an elevator. Unable to break the elevator door, the monster breaks the window instead and pushes its long tongue inside. Everyone narrowly avoids the attacks. When Haejun sees an opening, she chops off the monster's tongue with an axe. The crew hides inside the laboratory and treats their injuries. Captain Hwang begins accusing Jung. He points out that Jung returned to the platform willingly and already knew that fire could hurt the creature. Jung responds by smashing one of the aquariums and burning one of the small, glowing creatures. He explains that the burning creature can stay on fire for almost 24 hours. Then, Jung reveals the truth. Years ago, after Haejun's father discovered the glowing creatures, scientists learned that the strange liquid they produced could be used as a powerful source of oil. However, producing the oil meant burning living creatures. Despite the ethical concerns, the experiments continued. Eventually, one of the creatures grew into the giant monster now hunting them. Hyun-jung discovered the truth during her research. When she threatened to expose the secret, Jung killed her to protect it. Haejun is heartbroken and furious after learning that her own uncle murdered Hyun-jung. Jung admits everything and says he returned to face the consequences of his actions. Before anyone can react, they hear loud noises. The monster crashes through the laboratory window. Everyone runs. Jung is caught by the monster, but he tells Haejun to leave him behind. While being dragged by the creature's tongue, Jung grabs a bottle of corrosive acid and throws it into the monster's face. The monster screams in pain and retreats. The survivors retrieve their weapons. Haejun volunteers to restart the generator and restore electricity. Dong-soo goes with her. Ignoring the disgusting slime, Haejun bravely reaches inside and pulls the main lever. The power finally comes back. Meanwhile, Captain Hwang and 2 young crew members search another area. The monster suddenly bursts through the floor beneath them. They fire their guns, but nothing stops it. The creature chases them through the corridors. One young man falls. His friend turns back to help him. Captain Hwang selfishly keeps running. He locks himself inside another room and leaves the 2 men behind. The monster separates the friends with its tongue. It brutally kills both of them. Later, Haejun and Dong-soo return, but cannot find Captain Hwang. He has secretly escaped alone in the submarine. As he travels underwater, one of the dead bodies crashes into the submarine window. Seconds later, the monster attacks. It shatters the glass, floods the submarine, and Captain Hwang drowns. Back on the platform, Jung activates the self-destruct system. He goes outside to fire a flare. Haejun and Dong-soo try to stop him, but only the captain has the authority to cancel the countdown. The monster appears again. Jung attacks it with a flamethrower, but it barely slows the creature down. He then fights it with a metal pipe. After several heavy blows, he stabs the monster and traps it. Using his lighter once more, he sets the monster on fire. During the fight, Jung becomes covered in the creature's flammable slime. He burns alive along with the monster. The monster desperately rushes toward the ocean. Dong-soo pushes Haejun out of danger. The monster grabs Dong-soo and drags him into the sea. Haejun collapses in grief. Then she hears Dong-soo calling for help. He has survived by holding onto a rope. Haejun jumps onto her motorcycle and uses it to pull him back. The monster leaps out of the water, but she rescues Dong-soo just in time. The motorcycle slips, and Haejun injures her shoulder again. With only 1 minute left before self-destruction, they finally reunite. Their happiness lasts only seconds. The monster attacks again. Dong-soo grabs the creature and fights it so Haejun can escape. The monster throws him through the air and then kills him with a single bite. The creature begins climbing back onto the platform. Haejun rides her motorcycle toward it and fires her weapon to attract its attention. She leads it into a narrow passage. The monster becomes trapped between the metal structures. Haejun throws her motorcycle into it, causing a massive explosion. Even badly burned, the monster survives. Haejun runs to the drilling area and hides inside the control cabin. She remotely opens a large door. The monster enters the next room, thinking she is inside. Haejun quickly closes the door. For a moment, she believes she has trapped it, but the monster escapes through the ceiling and chases her again. She attacks it with a wrench, but is thrown into the machinery. She grabs a rope, and a crane lifts her into the air. The monster climbs after her. Haejun jumps onto a pipe. The monster loses its balance and falls into the drilling pit. Haejun also falls and badly injures her leg. She quickly grabs the drilling controls. Standing her ground, she waits for the monster to move directly beneath the drill. She presses the button. The giant drill crashes down and traps the monster. Even then, its claws grab Haejun's leg. She struggles free and crawls to the control panel. She activates the drill. The spinning drill pierces the monster's body and finally kills it. The platform begins exploding as the self-destruct sequence reaches its final stage. Ignoring the explosions around her, Haejun jumps onto her motorcycle. She makes one final leap from the collapsing platform to a nearby structure. There, she fires a rescue flare. A helicopter soon arrives and saves her. Several years later, an older Haejun returns to Sector 7. While inspecting the underwater pipes, she discovers the encouraging messages her former teammates left behind before the tragedy. Overcome with emotion, she quietly breaks down in tears. That's the end of Sector 7, 2011. If you enjoyed this recap, like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.